Hello, everyone, and welcome to CDL This Week, episode 6, hosted by myself, Camallenn.
And me, Horizontal. Thank you for tuning in, guys. We have Atlanta coming up this weekend, so we've got lots to discuss. Lots has happened this week as well.
Yeah, very well, that started that off really shit. There was a lot of stuff happening this week, which gives us a lot to talk about, which is good, especially because there's no tournament
Off
that
week.
happened this weekend. Yeah, it's a little off week, so luckily we've got loads of stuff to talk about. But we might as well just jump straight into it and start off on what people could class as a good note. We had the CDL rule set playlist put into the game, which was
Yeah.
good in some cases, but also bad in some cases because obviously everyone wants league play, as you know, but it seems like we got half of the deal.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good start from Infinity War, and I think they needed to put something. It was getting a bit too long, and they hadn't done anything. So the fact that they've dropped a CDL playlist is good. Not fully what everyone wants, though. But obviously, who knows if we'll actually ever get a ranked mode. I know you've been playing the playlist a lot. I haven't been able to play it.
Yeah, I played like 13 hours over the weekend. I enjoyed it quite a lot, especially if you 5 queue. Like if you've got a 5-man queue, it's quite good to play. But I feel like if you queue in like solo or even just as a duo, you can end up getting really shit players in your team, and especially if you're playing like hardpoint, they don't rotate. If you're playing it to win, then it's good if you queue in as a 5-man. If you're playing to just have fun, then I can see both sides of it. But if you're playing to have fun, I feel like you should just be playing normal pubs.
Yeah, I think if you're not like, it's like you should be treating it kind of like a ranked mode, I suppose.
But there isn't
Yeah, if
enough
you're not,
stuff for them to make it a rank mode. I feel like at this time because they've got a lot of the stuff that's still like obviously they got the GA stuff that's still in the game, especially that snake shot thing. I think comes with the is it the Magnum? No, whatever it's the or whatever it is. There's like that snake shot
the Magnum,
attachment.
I think.
Yeah, I think it is the Magnum. That's still involved, which I've seen people on Reddit getting a bit angry about. But and obviously there is no system for you to match up against players of your quality, which is sometimes like some games we were like 250ing to 20ing people on hardpoint, and then the next game we were having like a 250 to 248 because they were good.
Yeah.
The difference is a bit mad. But no, it's good fun. I enjoyed playing it. So,
It's a step in the right direction at least.
and if we're staying on the topic of CDL rules, obviously we had the rule update for the actual Pro League.
Yeah, going into effect for Atlanta.
Yeah, if you want to touch on that one a little.
So we've got S&D is now only 1 minute 30 around instead of 2 minutes, which I think is an update that a lot of the pros wanted. Helps speed up some of them rounds, and also domination is now reduced to a 5 minute per round instead of 6, which I guess it in some games might not really make much of a difference because some people will have already won by like before the 5 minutes, but I guess it gets rid of that whole end minute of a game where someone's already won and it's impossible to.
I don't know if it does though, because you're still going to have, even if you
I mean,
get to
it's just
like
gonna
9 minutes in the game, it would just
Yeah.
make the game quicker. But it just gives
Yeah.
people less time to sleep during matches.
True. Gives us less catch-up time.
Yeah, that is true.
Stats.
No, I don't mind the change to S&D. Obviously, with games like, with maps like Arklov, obviously massive map. Like you've got to traverse the map if you want to rotate bomb sites. You're not going to have a lot of time, so it's almost going to have to be like a 4 or 5-man hit into one of the bomb sites, and it's going to make rounds on stuff like St. Petrograd pretty quick. I feel like people are just going to quick hit the bomb inside first hard point.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure.
Some of them bigger maps are suddenly going to have to. The pace of the rounds is going to be a lot quicker.
Yeah.
Which I suppose, from a viewer's perspective, makes it a little bit more interesting because you're going to get these like engagements quicker. But
Definitely.
It's definitely going to, I think, make some of them big maps feel a little bit pressured from the get-go. But it'll be interesting to see how it affects them.
Yeah, the domination I think is a good fit because I feel like the games were too long. Just on the whole for a game mode that is a little bit kind of boring per se. It's not like wholly competitive. It's probably a lot better to have them as 5-minute rounds. So I quite like the update that they've brought. And obviously with the CDL playlist dropping, that was all good fun this week. But shall we move on to what bit are you looking to move on to?
Well, keeping on with the update, the latest update is broken LAN, according to some of the pros, and they're not able to play on a LAN format. And Infinity hasn't really mentioned it. Obviously, for Atlanta, if it's still not fixed, they'll just be able to run a different patch because it's obviously a completely separate thing. But not great that they've messed up the LAN abilities on Modern Warfare, really.
Yeah, I mean, it was annoying, especially for us last night. I mean, we were just trying to play tens, and we were getting pissed off that we couldn't crossplay. So I can't imagine what it's going to be like for the pros if they're struggling to play at their LANs. So
yeah,
I feel like it will be fixed. I don't feel like it's going to chalk the whole event like people are fucking overreacting to on Twitter. But
yeah, I don't think they'll they're not going to let it affect Atlanta. They'll just run the old patch if they had to. But I'm sure if not, there'll actually be a fix by then. So
yeah, we'll see what happens. I'm sure it'll be okay. Like I said, I don't feel like there's going to be any problems. If they do have a problem, they can always just try and revert the update. And on all the PlayStations and see if that works. But it'll be fine for challenges. If there is a challenge, there is a challenge, isn't there? So it'll be fine for challenges because obviously no Codcaster, so that shouldn't be an issue. But yeah, obviously with the pro stuff, it could be an issue, but I doubt it will be. And then if we're staying on things that have had a problem, Seattle Surge looks like they've made a change.
The biggest news of the week, really.
100%.
Enable on his stream announced that. So I think it was someone asked if he'd been scrimming, and then he announced that he'd been benched by Seattle, which, and for the foreseeable future, it seems, not just for the next event, which obviously it definitely shocked me. I never would have expected Enable to be a person that would get benched, but I suppose some of these teams are taking it seriously, and Seattle, as we've seen, hasn't had the best start to the season.
You see, I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say they haven't had the best start, because I do agree in a sense, but I also disagree in the fact that at Minnesota they went 2 Game 5s and choked the S&Ds. So again, they can't be playing terribly if they're going Game 5s. And then at London they played against Dallas twice, and against who was the other one in the group? Gorillas. And they beat Gorillas. Yeah, win Game 5. But, they didn't look bad against Dallas. They looked competitive, but you could just see that Dallas were the better team. I never saw there was anything wrong with Seattle. Just because they were losing at London, they looked a lot better than what they did at Minnesota. I'm actually really surprised that they dropped Enable, because I think Panda's a good player, but he was a good player a couple of years ago when he was duoed with GodRx, and that's because GodRx is one of the best players in the world. If you're playing with someone of that ability, you're going to do well. You're going to be able to slay your opponents because say on hardpoint, where they're spawning. You can predict these things. You can get cut-off lanes. There's a way to make yourself look better when you have superstars on your team. And for someone like Panda, I don't know how he's gonna. I don't know if he's gonna compete.
I don't know if they've announced who it is.
It'll be Panda. Proto's worse than Panda in my opinion. Panda, he's a good, like I said, he's a good player, but he's not Enable. Enable is one of the most hard-working, doing the dirty work kind of players you will get.
And that's the thing, Enable's a big name player, really, and to see him to be one of the ones that got benched on Seattle, I think it's come as a shock to everyone, because it's one of those people that, like Scump and Crimsix, is one of the bigger named players that you wouldn't expect to be the one getting put on the bench. So it'd be interesting to know where that decision came from.
It's what I was going to add on to that before you started chatting, was that they have too many players. I think I said it to you. They have too many players that do the same role in people like Slacked, Enable, and Karma. They're all doing that kind of dirty work. They're not the biggest slayers. They'll kind of go around even. But with someone like Panda, I feel like he's going to be their kind of trying to be their slay heavy player alongside Octane, because at the moment it doesn't really feel like they have anyone, like we said, touched on last week, that anyone that can support Octane. So we'll see what he brings. I'm interested. It's nice to see changes. After the last couple of years, there's not been a whole heap of new players coming in. I mean, we had players last year, but nothing. No one
And
really knew throughout the season. So it's kind of nice
the
to see.
whole having subs on teams like is for this reason.
Mm.
I guess it's kind of just it's because it's a new thing and people are used to the process of like a player like Enable getting benched. It's kind of just comes a bit of a shock. I know he did also mention though on his streams that he's already like from this coming out that he's already had 2 other teams reach out to him.
Gorillas, I'm not surprised about at all.
Is it Gorillas?
I thought they said LA. I don't know who the other one is though.
Oh, so he's waiting till after the LA Homestead. So I don't know whether it might have been Gorillas and someone else. But yeah, he's not making a decision yet. But the fact that other teams have already reached out surprised me a little bit because, for all we know, this could end up being just for one event.
True. He said he was going to make his decision after the event. I believe it was after this Atlanta event. So again, we'll see what happens with that. It's interesting to see if we could potentially have our first actual kind of player switch going from team to team.
Yeah.
We've had a couple of subs already with Bance coming in for metals and now looking like Panda in for Enable. But could we see could we see our first actual kind of team switch? That'd be very interesting to see.
Yeah, that would be. I mean, I think Enable said that Seattle's happy to work with him if he wants to swap teams. So
they might have to try and pay him the bag. I don't think he'd fit in, to be honest, over at Gorillas. In my opinion, I feel like that team's your kind of like pick up team. They were kind of the last of the bunch that got picked up. I still think Blast should be playing instead of Aches. If we're going to touch on the Gorillas quickly, I don't see how Aches is still on the team. He has his brand, and I presume that's why he's still on the team because he brings a brand with him.
It must be some thing that they're just like they want to keep playing him for the branding of him being the bad guy.
Yes,
but yeah, if Enable's getting benched, you start asking questions like why are the likes of like Aches not being benched and other players. Like if you're going to start teams are going to start taking seriously in that way, then there's a lot of other players that you'd expect to see benched first.
Yeah, I agree. It's like Sensor though, he brings out a brand, so that's why he's on a team. But he is a sub, and they did the right thing making him a sub.
Yeah.
Whereas you've got people like Aches, if you still want his brand, which his brand is being the villain, then I mean he wouldn't really fit on the bench. But he's not. I mean he's dropped another 0.7 this weekend. He's not great, is he? Yeah. Let's be honest. Talking of things that aren't great, Killa. Mr. Adam Sloss himself brought his name back into the limelight this week, outing every player for taking Adderall, even though
was it on a
Washington Post. Washington Post. Even though Killa got outed, I think it was about a year ago by his baby mama, as we can call her, the mother of his children. She outed him for being addicted to Adderall, and now he's coming out and saying every pro's on Adderall. Of which
it's kind of like stop looking at me, let's look at everyone.
Yeah, it seems like that. Obviously, I don't know if anyone saw, but Simp's girlfriend
I think
hit back with an angry tweet.
I think a lot of people then started, obviously people read that post and then start probably tweeting at certain pros, and I think Simp being so much in the limelight at the moment on Atlanta Faze. He obviously got a lot of tweets, and Simp's girlfriend wasn't happy. We've had quite a few angry pro girlfriends recently, haven't we, on Twitter?
Well, we touched on Claces last week, didn't we? I'm not going to go back into that. That was annoying.
But yeah, it's interesting that he's trying to. It's something that we all know about, and people know goes on, but I don't think it's as bad as maybe he's trying to make out. Used to be. I was going to say maybe it used to be a lot worse, but I would like to think that less and less of the pros are now on Adderall.
Well, I was sat in TP's stream the day it got released in the press, and I was actually chatting in his chat to some random kid, and we were both saying that there needs to be drug tests. People should be searched, and if they're caught with this stuff, with Adderall or whatever else they're taking. I read that fucking Jericho Simp's girlfriend tweeted out about people taking cocaine. I really doubt people are taking cocaine to try and get cracked on COD. But talking of
I
Adderall,
think that's a risky way of trying to improve yourself.
they should be banned, for X amount of time or whatever if they're caught with it, because it does, as I think Slasher tweeted out, it makes the playing field uneven. It makes it unfair on the players that don't require this to be good, for these other players to be concentrated. I won't release names who I spoke to last year at CDL London. I was chatting to one of the pros or whatever, and he was telling me that literally every player was on it. And it's bad that the fact that these guys feel like they need to be on it. Just drink some fucking coffee, drink some G Fuel or something, and that will do you. Get a caffeine high.
Other sports have drug tests, so it's like, why? I don't see why they don't bring it into this. And as you said, if a player is on something and they get caught, they take a fine and they have to sit so many weekends out.
Well, look at Rio Ferdinand, for example. Whenever that was caught back in, that must have been like 2007, I think it was. He got caught taking whatever, some performance enhancing drugs. He got banned for like 8 or 11 months, I think it was. 2 years, something like that. These guys get massive bans. I don't get why. Yeah. It's just because these guys have brands, and it's like, we're not going to risk losing viewership by banning someone. It's like, well, you kind of have to.
It's also, I think, we've got to remember, like, this is the most structured that COD, the COD League has been. It hasn't quite had this level of money behind it and structure. So it's something that it wouldn't surprise me if they do start to bring in.
I hope.
And also, really, I think if they want to really tackle the problem, they should maybe we all know that challenges is just as bad for it. It might even be a thought that they start introducing some sort of thing in challenges to try and stop it early.
Well, talking of challenges, I remember something happening last year at CWL London. I think it was CWL London with Fastballer. Someone thought he was on Addy, and he got searched, and everyone was like, Aspire are about to be booted out of the tournament, and he came up clean or something. I can't remember the exact story, but so clearly there's stuff that's happened, because obviously there's that rumor going around with John that's the reason why he's not playing this year, and he's only been playing in locals. That's why he got banned. But who really knows about John, to be honest? It's a bit weird that a player of his caliber is not playing and the reason hasn't been released. So maybe that could be why. But
it's a problem that's been going on for a long time, and I think it's now starting to be the limelight's been shone at or whatever, and people are starting to hear more about it. So hopefully that helps deter players a bit more, and it starts pushing it in the right direction of it not being a thing.
I agree. And talking of things that definitely are a thing at the moment is the Huntsman versus Dallas Empire rivalry. Twitter drama, whatever you want to call it. I mean, Scump's been going off the last couple of days, isn't he?
Scump and I can't remember what it was. Scump said something, was it about backpedaling?
The day after London, I think it was, yeah.
Yeah, and then Clayster had a bit of back and forth, which
he then tweeted something out on Valentine's Day, of which Crim6 replied, being like, "Oh, is this what you're doing on Valentine's Day?" Even though Scump doesn't make any of the edits himself.
No, he's spent Valentine's Day making a video
about me.
When you go, it's like, well, mate, he's probably got an editor that's
it's probably Semtexable or Kevy, one of the two. They're making them, and he's just tweeting them out for a bit of memes. Crim6 is so salty. And talking to Crim6, I mean, there was a thing that came out with the GA at London. Apparently, Huntsman broke that GA of using 3 stuns instead of 2, or flashes or whatever it was. And I saw Arcity's replying, being like, "Shut the fuck up! We literally had to change sides of the stage, set up all our classes again, whilst being told you need to hurry the fuck up and get out of this venue." And Crim6 is there crying on Twitter about them using 1 extra stun. It's like, fuck me, it doesn't make that much of a difference.
Yeah, and it's like, and then he's gone it was Dexter Rowe ever made that article about it. Crim6 have been having a moan on his stream or something, and obviously those things get taken exaggerated. And then Crim said, well, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter because the other map, it didn't benefit you. It actually hindered you. So
I
it
saw
all
that.
balanced
Yeah.
out. It's like, well, then why even say anything in the
Yeah,
first
I
place?
don't. Oh, he said, I was just chatting to my stream story time, and it's
Yeah.
like, mate, you're just being salty at this point. Like, you've been smoked 3 series. Map counts what, 9-2. Like, come on, fucking. Why don't you go scrim and actually sort out how you're playing against Huntsman instead of
Yeah.
fucking crying on Twitter or crying on your stream about it? It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
For someone of his caliber to be crying about something like that. I get that it's a
And
GA and it's an agreement you have, but obviously it was an accident. They didn't otherwise they'd have done it all the time if they meant to do it on purpose. Like, I could get it if Dallas had been smoking Chicago recently and they went, oh, let's just try and sneak this in just to try and get a little bit of an advantage. But it makes no difference because Chicago have just been shitting on them.
yeah,
So,
exactly. And it's like, and it just doesn't help like people liking Crimsix, does it? It's like you're the one that's losing, and now you're crying about that. Oh, they're using something you're not allowed to use. It's like you're just trying to look for excuses.
yeah, it's not like they're using like a certain gun or attachment or something that's banned.
Yeah,
It's a
it's
fucking
just an
extra stun by
flash.
accident.
Oh,
Like,
stun,
come
sorry,
on,
yeah.
or whatever it was. If the thing is, I don't even know what it was. That's how little I kind of care about
Yeah,
this.
it was something like it was 3 stuns instead of 2.
Yeah,
So it was one person was running a stun instead of a flash, and it's like
big whoop.
I get stuns are a bit more like a bit stronger than a flash, but it's just it's just one of them. But I mean, speaking of Crim6 and things that you're not meant to be using,
More
did
Crim
you see the
6.
clip of him waving the camera away in
Yeah,
London?
I did see that.
As he
It was
was
very funny.
unpacking his controller, and obviously everyone on Twitter started have made the assumption that it was him unpacking a battle beaver, which obviously he's not going to want to show on camera because the whole league's sponsored by Scuff.
But if
But it's
Scuff
just
aren't
funny.
producing correct controllers that the pros want to use, I like Scuffs, to
Yeah.
be honest. Like, I've been using a Scuff for about a year now, and I really like it. But I get that the pros play claw, so obviously they don't really need the back paddles too much.
Yeah,
So, I mean, it all comes down to personal preference at the end of the day. But
it does, and I think it's. I don't see a lot of people getting a bit like, oh, you shouldn't be using that on stage or whatever. But at the end of the day, Scuff sponsors the league, and yes, it's just funny to me that they're like the players don't want to use a Scuff.
mm.
And I'd be interested to know actually how bothered Scuff are, because they get their branding across everything else. Like if a player's not using their controller,
I wouldn't really say they care too much because the players' controllers don't really get shown. It's not like
exactly.
It's not like they. I'm pretty sure they've all got Scuff like sponsored on their jerseys as well, or they used to last year or whatever it was. But Scuff's still a sponsor. They sponsor the league. If pros don't want to use them, then by all means do it. It depends how pissed off Scuff want to get. So
it was just it was a funny clip from London.
It was very funny. He was just like, fuck off, like shying them away. Very funny. It was good. Where are we at? What have we got?
I mean, speaking of like obviously Scuff sponsoring the league, it's come out how much Blizzard's deal with YouTube was.
Yes.
For the Overwatch League and the CDL. Apparently, YouTube's paid 160 million for free.
Probably barely made a dent. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean, that's for 3 years of broadcasting, and I mean, what was it? Overwatch League had 90 million. Twitch paid 90 million for 2 years, so it's works out about right. I would have said, like, obviously. People they're like, oh, they need to go back to Twitch, but I mean, Twitch hasn't paid the money. YouTube's paid the money.
Yeah, I mean, Faze came in with the bag and went, no, I want it. So, no, I don't mind it. I don't mind it being on YouTube, like we've said previously. It makes it easy for us when trying to do stats. We can easily rewind and stuff like that rather than having to take clips. But if they could sort out the, if they can sort out the quality issue, then it would be a lot better. Because obviously we've had issues.
You've got to remember, like, YouTube streaming has been around for a while, but it's only really started to pick up, I would say, recently with, like, big names going onto YouTube and stuff. So there's a lot of stuff that is probably definitely going on behind the scenes of improvements to, like, the encoding and stuff to make quality better. Things like clips, that's definitely something they've said is in the works. I think it's a good move, and it's there for 3 years, so I'm sure we'll see all the improvements we kind of want to see in them 3 years, and it will get better.
Yeah, of course it will get better. I don't see why Faze wouldn't be trying to progress it, especially when he is such a. It's not like he's not a prevalent name in the scene. He's a guy who's been around for years. You know, he'll want to make everything better for the people. He's a very good people person, as people say,
and he's very engaged with the community, so he knows what's.
Definitely. So are we going to move on now to the Atlanta homestand? Is that where we're at?
This weekend.
This weekend. Very excited. Going to see some teams in their first event, which I'm very excited for, especially Atlanta.
Definitely looking forward to seeing Faze play again and in the tournament format.
Yes. Who else have we got? Let's get the schedule up here.
I'm trying to remember who the 4 teams.
The 4 teams that weren't at London was Minnesota, Florida, Optic, and Atlanta. Those were the 4 that weren't at London. So I'm especially looking forward to seeing Optic, actually, probably more than Faze, because we know what Faze are like. Whereas Optic, we hadn't seen enough from them. We saw them go game 5 with Paris, and then they got smoked by Chicago. So it'll be interesting to see in the last, what has it been, about 4 weeks now since they played at LAN. So it'll be interesting to see how they come out, especially first game against Atlanta. That's going to be tough. You know, I feel like if they could even get that to a 3-2, you know, that will give them a lot of confidence going into their next match.
It's going to be interesting because obviously Faze, like, one argument is for the teams that haven't played is they've had a whole weekend to watch the other teams playing and learn. But actually, Faze is going against one of the only other teams that hasn't played yet. This last weekend. So it's like they're both still going in off only knowing about each other from Minnesota.
I'm sure they've scrimmed though. But obviously LAN is massively different to online. I just don't see this Optic team being shit. You know, they've got too much talent. Too much talent.
A similar situation to like Seattle. Like the talent there is good, and we should be seeing a better team from them. And I think obviously Minnesota, it's so hard to judge them off that weekend. So it'll be good to see. It'll be interesting to see how well they play in the tournament.
Minnesota Paris will be a really good game. Actually, I think that first game of the weekend. I think that'd be a really good game.
Hopefully, we see a better Paris. It was a bit shaky, and they were a bit shaky in London.
I'm sure
some
they'll
good
be
games,
better.
Some obviously Minnesota again. They haven't played for 4 weeks. So
they're a good team though. You know, they got some good players, some very good players, especially people like GodRx that we touched on earlier. I think that we go. I mean, obviously, if you went into Minnesota and Minnesota were playing Paris, you'd have gone, shit game. But honestly, 4 weeks later, I think that's going to be an absolute cracker of a series. I'm thinking 3-2 on that one, 100%. If we're going to go, we might as well go straight into some predictions actually here now. But yeah, I would say Minnesota Paris is going to be a 3-2. Probably I would give the edge to Paris just because they've played on LAN twice now, obviously playing a couple of weeks ago.
I would agree there. I think Paris will take the win, and I also think it will go to a game 5. It's going to be a close game.
What I think with that one though is the one player that you need to see really kind of step it up if their team wants to win for me is Luca. You know, he didn't have the best time over here in London, but he's a very, very, very good player, and I don't see him being kind of having another average weekend. So as long as he performs well, I think Paris will perform well, because you know what you're going to get out of Dens and Shocks and Kismet. You know, you're just going to get fire games out of.
As long as Kismet comes out on form and doesn't have a slow start like London, I think you'll see a really strong Paris. But yeah, I think Minnesota will give them a good challenge though.
Oh, 100%. You know, with players like Assault, GodRx, even Silly, you know, they've got some very good firepower on that team, and then their Seam just in front of them, just baiting, you know. That's a good team. That's a good game, I think. But the other one, next game, I think, is also going to be a good game. You know, we haven't seen Florida for 4 weeks, obviously going up against London.
Versus Florida.
Haven't seen Florida for 4 weeks. Obviously, we saw London come out playing. I thought they played well at London. I didn't think they were as good as I think people thought they were going to be. I know that sounds weird.
Yeah.
I don't know if you kind of get what I mean. They looked good, but like we said, I think in the Toronto game, they got massively outslayed in the series. But obviously, you know, outslaying isn't everything. But, you know, if you're looking at stats, you know, you look at the slaying. But, I mean, if you're winning, you're winning. So you can't really complain on that level.
No, you can't. And I think what you're saying as well, like, is the fact that London, yes, they won their games and they got far through the tournament, but they didn't do it like super convincingly. Like the game against Ultra, as you said, they weren't. Ultra was slaying them out, but London still won. And then I mean, London lost the first two maps to New York and had to do a reverse sweep. Like they're good, but they're not like up there as one of the really strong teams.
See, it's a weird one because I think when they're on it, when they're playing at their best, they are
Yes,
one of the best teams, probably
yes,
top four team. But
it's
they
that
just feel a little bit
inconsistency.
inconsistent. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
but it's not like they go from being one of the best to being one of the worst. You know, they're going from being one of the best to kind of a middle of the pack team. So it's kind of a
yeah,
weird inconsistency, but it's not like
yeah. It's like we said,
awful.
if
It's
London's on
weird.
form, I think they should have no problem beating Florida if they're on like their top form.
To me, if
If
London are on form, I think they could beat anyone. I think they could beat Atlanta. I think they could beat Chicago. I think they should have definitely beaten Dallas at London,
Yeah, I do think they should have won that.
and that was unfortunate. But you know they are a good team, and I
And
think they're only going to get better.
yeah, and obviously they've had London. They'll have learnt a lot from there. They'll be coming out of that now after that loss of really wanting to try and do better. Florida hasn't played for 4 weeks. I'm sure they've scrimmed, but they haven't played on land for 4 weeks. Um,
Hmm.
be interesting to see how Florida plays again, like going into that as their first game. I do think it's going to go London's way.
I am going to go
Um,
3-0 London. I like the Florida team, and I think they are good. I just think they've got too many weaknesses in the slaying department. I mean, you've got Skies, who is your kind of slay heavy player, but then you've got people like Pristini, Havoc. You know, they're going to go kind of around even, maybe a little bit negative. Whereas on London, you've got like three, even four players that are really kind of aggressive, kind of not all aggressive. Sorry, I'm trying to mix it up here. You've got at least four players that are kind of a mixture of aggressive with putting up massive KDs. You know, you've got people like Dylan,
yeah,
Scraps, Waskins, and Jerd, and then you've just got Rated, who's just going to, you know, walk around. He's going to anchor everything, pick up probably around even. But on Florida, you've got about three or four of their players that are kind of the opposite to London. They're going to go kind of
yeah,
around even. You know, probably not going to probably going to struggle to win a lot of spawns because of the slay heavy nature of London. And to me, I just think London are just going to come out and absolutely fry them, especially after getting the reverse sweep in their last land series. They're going to
yeah.
come out
No,
flying.
I think that is definitely going to be like a fire for them to do well. There's I think there's the possibility it might go for to a 3-1 only because of the domination game mode. That's the only thing there. Like Florida, as we said, like they're a bit mediocre, but they could probably make a domination go in their favor just because the nature of the game mode.
See, I'd have
So,
said if they're going to take anything, they're going to take Search. With
mm,
people like Mork, Skies, Havoc, you know, you got some S&D kids in there. You know,
true, yeah,
they're a good S&D team. If they're going to take any, I think they would take an S&D. I still think London will probably win 3-0. Um, what do you think? What's your prediction
I
on that one?
my guess would be maybe a 3-1. I
Okay.
think I think London, if they come out flying, then yeah, they're probably 3-0. But I think a safer bet that there's probably going to be a 3-1. I think Florida will give them a bit of a challenge on at least one of the maps.
I think
So
they'll
yeah,
give them a challenge, but I just don't see them. I don't see them putting too much pressure on London. I don't feel like it's going to be a walk in the park, but I feel like it's going to be maybe a semi close 3-0, maybe like a 250 to 190 hard point, a
yeah,
6-4, 6-5 in the search, and then as you said, I mean, domination is just domination. You never know what's going to happen in that one, but I would see London taking that one, to be honest. Um, and then moving on, we have the
yeah,
winners of London. We've got Chicago going up against Toronto Ultra. What are we
yeah.
thinking for that one?
Chicago, who are on a absolute win streak at the moment. They
Six
haven't
six win
lost.
streak, I
Yeah,
believe.
6 win streak. They haven't lost a match. Going
Hmm.
up against Ultra, who I'm not sure if they've swapped up the roster again this time. I haven't seen anything about any player swaps. So, I mean, it's expected that Chicago is going to win. I think. Ultra.
Yeah, I agree. Chicago should come out and win. but I really wouldn't be surprised if Ultra give them a run for their money. I don't know why, but you know when sometimes you just got a weird feeling about a team or like a game that's coming up. I think this is that game for me. I really don't know how to
Yeah,
describe it, but I really feel like,
I'm
Toronto
just
won't win,
unsure.
but I feel like they
Oh,
might take two maps. I feel like it might go to a game 5.
see, it's one of them. Like we've seen, Ultra can be like a team that can challenge some of the better teams, but then we saw the likes of them almost being the first 100 club. And I think if Chicago just comes out running as dominant as all over Ultra, it might they might really struggle. But like you said, Ultra could also just come out come out the gate running as well and give Chicago a real challenge.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
I just got a weird feeling about this one. Really, I don't know why. I might be wrong, and Chicago can come out and just 100-point club 6-0, 200 to 100 them in Dom. I mean,
yeah,
you
I
never
think
know, but
my gut instinct is that Chicago's probably going to come out and 3-0 them. It might be a close 3-0. There might be like the hard point or domination. Ultra gets very close to taking, but I do think it's going to be a 3-0 for
I
Chicago.
think I'm going to go 3-1 Chicago. I, I just have a weird feeling about it. I don't know. I don't think Toronto will win. If they do, I'm going to say I called it. So let's clip this. Toronto going to beat Chicago. Someone clip that.
Yeah, I'll get your apology
Yeah, I'll get my
ready.
apology ready. I think Chicago will win. I'm going to say 3-1. I see them maybe taking, like you said, a hard point or a domination potentially. But yeah, just want to have a weird feeling about this weekend. And then moving on, we've probably got the game of the game of the first set of fixtures we have.
The big opening game.
Yeah,
You've got Atlanta Faze and Optic. I mean, it'd be like obviously something that's not really been discussed before getting into predictions is that Optic Faze rivalry.
Mate, I was about to say this. I was wondering if you were going to touch on this. I was going to say, is Faze versus Optic back? What do we think?
Is that a thing
us
anymore?
know.
Because obviously it's not like the Optic's not the same as it once was. That the fans that were on Optic side that had that rivalry with the Faze fans have all moved to Huntsman. It's a weird one. It'd be interesting to see if they try and push that storyline still.
I wouldn't be surprised if they do, because all the fans have gone to Chicago, it doesn't take away from the fact that it is still Optic. I know Optic's not the same Optic, but they're still the two biggest names in the COD League. If you talk about COD to someone that doesn't follow it,
the rivalry of the brand
yeah,
is. I would imagine they're going to try and push that storyline. It's just whether or not the fans kind of get behind that rivalry like they used to. It'd be interesting to see. But obviously, I do, like we said, Optic's probably going to look a lot better. Though I expect Faze to just be a strong team going into this game.
Yeah, I mean, Faze of Faze, we know what they're going to bring, most likely. They're going to bring fast gameplay, whether it's in hardpoint, S&D, or domination. They're going to come out, they're going to be in your face. You're going to have close gunfights with them. And when I say close, I don't mean you're going to be almost winning them. I mean, they're going to be in your face, and you have got to be ready for them to be rushing you from all angles. And I feel like they might play into Optic's favour. They've got a couple of slower players in people like Slasher and JCap who might just kind of sit back, try and pick them off. On certain maps, they might try and work the vetoes into their favour. Yeah. I feel like Atlanta are still going to come out on top, just because it's Atlanta. You would class them as the best, if not the second best team in the league at the moment. I would say Chicago are probably the best team in the league, just because they have played at an event. But I mean, Atlanta, Optic are probably in people's maybe bottom 3 for power rankings, if we still want to do power rankings. We'll leave that one to nameless. I'm not going to get slewed in chat or whatever. So I would say Atlanta 3. I want to say 3-2, but I think it'll be 3-1.
Yeah, I'm the same. I feel like if Optic plays it right, I think they have the ability to, like, as you said, if they play it slow and sit back, there's going to be some points when they just shut Atlanta down because of the different play styles. It's a hard one to decide if it's going to be 3-1, 3-2. I think if Optic's playing well and looking good, it's going to go to a 3-2. I just feel like Atlanta's going to be maybe a bit too strong and for Optic and come out maybe a 3-1, I think, is probably what I would predict.
My favourite thing about this matchup is I almost feel like it could go to any scoreline, like either way, honestly.
Yeah.
If Atlanta could come out and smoke them, we haven't seen Optic for 4 weeks. We don't know what they're going to bring. You know, they could come out and show us what we didn't expect from Paris at Minnesota. You know, not saying. Well, I mean, they could potentially come out and 3-0 Faze. Whether it happens, I don't know. But I could see Optic winning 3-2. You know, I could see Faze winning in a game 5. But I could also see Faze coming out and absolutely shitting on them. So to me, this could just go anywhere.
I think we've seen how fast Faze can adapt in game and have an answer to like everything. It's whether Optic can match that. And if Optic can like have counters on, like think counters to Faze fast and work against their strategies on the spot, then we're going to see a close game.
I think so too. But obviously we can't really do any more predictions because we don't have any more games to go off, which is a little bit annoying.
Yeah.
But
it's the way the format. I mean, we can predict who we probably expect to see in the finals, I suppose.
Yeah, we could go with maybe some semi-finals and finals. Who have you got? Who would you think?
I think I'm expecting definitely, obviously, to see Atlanta and Chicago. I can't see them playing each other till the finals because they're in separate groups. I imagine Atlanta and Chicago will win their groups.
Yes.
And then I would expect. I'm kind of expecting London to come out as the second team for Group A.
Agreed. Yeah.
And then I probably would say Paris. I think they'll be just that bit stronger.
See, I like this kind of lineup of these teams because, I mean, you look at Florida, you're probably going to say they're not going to get out. You know, they've got to go against London, and then even if they win that one, you know, they've got to go up against Faze and then maybe potentially play London again. I mean, they got a very tough group, Faze, Optic, and London. I mean, good luck.
Yeah.
You don't really see them getting out. On the other side, though, I mean, like you said, Chicago, you know, if you don't bet them to get out their group in first, you're mad. I would bet my house on them coming out first in that group, to be honest. But look at the other teams, and it's like, who gets out? I mean,
Paris, Minnesota, and Toronto, like all teams that have the potential to be good there. But all I would say all very similar kind of skill level. I personally just think Paris is probably going to come out the strongest out of them three.
See, I'm going with Toronto. I don't know why. Like I said, I've just got a feeling about them because they didn't look awful at London.
No.
And Paris, again, they looked a bit shaky. We haven't seen Minnesota, so I can't really talk too much on them because we haven't really seen them, obviously, for 4 weeks now. I'm going Chicago and Toronto get out of that group. I'm going to go... So Chicago will obviously win, and then Paris will beat Minnesota. Toronto will then beat Minnesota, and then they're going to beat Paris, I think, in that kind of losers round in the group. But then obviously finals, I presume we've got the same prediction.
Faze versus Huntsman.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what
it's
most people would be going for.
Output.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's not, then there's definitely been an upset somewhere.
100% an upset. I mean, they're definitely the two top teams in the game.
The only, like, I think it's guaranteed Faze gets to the end, and obviously, like, same for Chicago, unless one of the, like, either London or, in my case, Paris somehow does some upset against them too. But you never know; anything could happen. But I think if it is Atlanta Faze and Chicago Huntsman, then it's the big final everyone wants. I'm sure it'll be great for viewership.
Yeah.
And we'll maybe find out who the top team kind of is.
I mean,
because they're the two top boys.
I mean, Chicago could end up playing both Atlanta and Optic this weekend.
Yeah,
they could end up playing Optic in their semi-final if obviously they get through. Well, I mean, they'd have to beat potentially London in that losers kind of Florida and London to obviously get out. But then we could also then see Chicago obviously playing Atlanta in the final. And I think I really like this lineup of teams we've got this weekend. It looks. It's a good mix, I think, is what. Whereas last week it was all very kind of, you got good teams here, and all the two shit teams they got eliminated straight away, didn't they? In Gorillas and not Seattle. Who's the other team? Subliners, was it?
Yes.
Yeah.
The Subliners.
They lost twice.
Yeah.
Lost to Paris and then to London, didn't they? Yes. So, but whereas this week, I feel like, especially in even in both groups, I mean, if Optic kind of obviously lose to Atlanta, London win and then lose to Faze, you then got Optic and London, who gets out there. And then in the other one, you got the three other teams, apart from Huntsman, that could get out of that group. So,
yeah.
It's looking good. I like the lineup we got this weekend. It'd be a good watch.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a good weekend.
Talking of lineups, though, I really hope there's no hype battle.
I know you do, and I know, like, personally as well. I'm the same. I'm not fussed about it, but I'm fully expecting it to be a hype battle. There's all this production behind it already, and just like the whole idea of it, that it's obviously going to be a mainstay. Like each event.
If there's a hype battle,
I just hope it doesn't mess up the schedule.
Yes.
Because let's look at it so far. We've had 2 weekends. Both have had scheduling issues where they've run over.
Yeah, a little bit.
The first one was, I think, there was a lot of different issues in Minnesota. I mean, the only reason London actually ran over, let's be honest, is because of the hype battles.
A little bit. Yeah.
I mean, there was obviously audio things and different, but like that was what caused the biggest like pause in the day and pushed everything back. As long as it doesn't mess up the schedules, I think I'm fine with it. It'll be interesting to see who they do, because it seems like whoever the home team is, it's kind of somewhat linked to that a little bit, and whatever the home area. So obviously Minnesota, you saw loads of basketball players because of.
I feel like they'll have Juju Smith-Schuster. That's who I think will be part of it.
I'm expecting we might see some of the some Faze people.
Okay, I feel like if there's some Faze people, it might be better. But as long as they don't have fucking Censor on there again, I don't mind. if there's some good COD,
I don't think it'll be Censor. I think if there's going to be players. Like, it would make sense to me that they bring in some like Faze personalities, even if it's like YouTuber Faze people, because obviously like it's the Atlanta Faze homestand. Celebrity wise, because it seems like there's this trend that it's 2 celebrities and 2
players per se.
So I don't know who the celebrities.
That's what I'm saying. Juju Smith-Schuster, who plays for the Steelers, he's literally a part of Faze. I feel like he could be in, or I mean, big ones. They could get a couple of people from the Falcons, maybe from the Atlanta Falcons, maybe someone like Julio Jones. I mean, that would be massive for someone like him. Who else? I mean, I can't really think of anyone else who plays for the Falcons. I mean, Matt Ryan probably wouldn't do it.
I don't know players well enough.
Neither do I really. They're pretty shit, the Falcons. Let's be honest.
I think so far, out of all these possible hype battles, this might be the most interesting one, personality-wise, just because you've got the name of Faze, and there's so many well-known people through that are liked. But yeah, I think we're probably. I think it's pretty certain that we'll see a hype battles. Let's just hope it's a smoother production of the hype battle.
The thing is, they can't like if they're running behind on schedule, they still have to do it. That's the thing, because they're going to probably be paying these people to take part, and it's like, we've run over, we can't really do it now. Oh well, here's money. Oh, we've lost money now, without getting the kind of like output from it. They can't really do that. So
I think we saw like Minnesota was definitely a big exception because of Kobe. So like, unless there's some serious thing where the players themselves don't want to take part, then it's going to go on no matter if it's 2-3 hours late.
For me, for what it was, it just ended so quickly at London. Like, I was just stood there, and then suddenly map 1 was done. I was like, okay, right, we'll probably a bit of time, blah blah blah. And then without even thinking about it, map 2 was done, and it was done, and it was like we just waited longer for Mad Cat to finish his game in challenges, get ready, come out, and everything. Than the game actually took, and it's like, what a waste of time, in my opinion. Like, and they took so long setting up the desk for it as well. Like, because obviously we were right by the desk, and they took so long setting it up and putting everything in place, and then the time they had to wait was just nuts for how quick it all happened. It just wasn't worth it, in my opinion.
No, it wasn't, and I would hope that for this time, like as you said, like the setup. I suppose thinking about it, that was the first time they've actually done a live setup of the hype battles. Hopefully, they do it like they've had time to get that smoothed out, and they have a better idea of what they're doing now, and this time it goes smoother. I'd rather see them slot it in at a good point when they know it's like good to go, and not stop the game while they wait for it, if you get what I mean. Because there was a gap there big enough that we could have carried on watching the pro games.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know.
And I'd rather see them just like be a bit more flexible on the scheduling of when they do it. But just have to wait
I mean, just to kind of just finish up on this topic, as long as they kind of like you said, they fit it into the schedule correctly, and there's no kind of fanning around, waiting around for it to kind of start, and we're all wondering what's going on, and as long as they kind of just work it well, it's produced well, because I feel like they probably rushed it at London, obviously with the whole time they had to wait for Mad Cat and stuff. Yeah, as long as it's performed well, and then it's fine. But as long as it just doesn't take up fucking hours of our time while we could be doing productive things, like watching proper games rather than watching some shit players run around with 725 shotguns. Like, I don't really give a fuck about that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It is what it is. If they want to do it, obviously that's up to them. It's not down to me. It's just not particularly something I want to see, in my opinion.
And I think a lot of the fans agree. Like, a lot of us aren't that fussed about watching it. It's a cool idea, but it kind of just messes with the enjoyment of the actual event.
Yeah, I feel like if it's fitted in well, it's good because it keeps the fans engaged. But if there is a big pause, like it was at London, it's just not worth it, in my opinion. And I think that is probably where we're going to start wrapping it up here. It looks like we're kind of out of topics, really, and not decent amount to talk about this weekend.
Because the only thing we haven't really touched on is challenges, but I don't actually know if there is I haven't seen anything about.
There is an event.
Challenges.
There is an event. I don't know who's taking part. I'm not sure if Singularity are going to be there. There's been talk they might be paying for themselves to go, like the players and stuff. I don't know if the org is supplying them to go. Obviously, they have a bit of cash after these last couple of weekends that they've won. So they might be going out. If they do, I would say they're probably going to win it again.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be good if they can get out there and kind of try to keep that streak going. At least then people know at least a little bit of something that's going on with the challenges, because they just know that the same team's winning.
Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully I would like to see maybe they show a bit of it at Atlanta. We keep saying this, but
they won't.
We'll have to wait and see.
They won't. I can almost guarantee they won't. But the only reason we want it to be shown is so that these players have a chance of getting onto pro teams in the near future. Because at the moment, we touched on it last week, they have no chance of people knowing who's the next best thing. And I saw it on the Singularity. They released their video from Minnesota today. And I think it was Chain, or it might be Maple, was basically saying the same thing. It's like, how the fuck are the teams supposed to know who's doing well? They just see us winning. how do they know? They could pick up the worst player on the team, or per se worst player on the team, and be like, why is he? And all the amateurs are going to be like, why the fuck has he been picked up? He's not even the best player. So that's how I see it. I don't want to touch on two challenges too much unless you've got anything else to kind of talk about.
The only other thing I'd say is I hope Atlanta has a proper ending. I hope we see a trophy.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
And I hope there's just a bit more effort at the end of the thing, obviously, as long as the schedule allows it, I suppose.
We'll see, won't we? But yeah, that's where we're going to wrap it up. Thank you for everyone for tuning in, whether you're watching this live on Twitch, and if you're not and you're watching it on YouTube, make sure to subscribe. We're going to be trying to put out longer clips now, kind of like maybe like 10, 12-minute segments on things we've touched on this week. And then definitely check us out on Twitter, or it's at CDL this week, where we'll be posting shorter clips, maybe like kind of 1-2 minute clips of different topics that we've been talking about as well. So definitely go follow us on there. And then we've also got camallenn on Twitter and at HZL_G if you want to go and drop us a follow. But yeah, that's where we're going to wrap it up. Thank you everyone for listening, and definitely feel free to share your thoughts with us, especially on YouTube in the comments or on Twitter in the replies. We always like to see what you guys have to say, if anything. If you want to say anything else, then
No.
If not, we will catch you guys same time next week, same Twitch channel. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys, and we will see you later.